Welcome everybody, my name's Blake and you're watching Warhammer Math. Today we're going to be talking about the swingiest anti-tank unit in all of Warhammer 40,000, the Eradicators. 10th edition 40k has seen the rise of vehicles in a way that we really didn't see in previous editions. And so as I've been fighting my brother's Forge Fiend and things like it, I've been looking for things that would allow me to take these things down. And something pointed me in the direction of these Eradicators. I love these boys, they're really, really cool. I wish I had one with a multi-Melta that was completely painted, but that's okay. These guys have a great profile. They've got 2 Melta rifles, a multi-Melta, all at strength 9, hitting on 3s and 4s, re-rolling hits, re-rolling wounds, re-rolling damage rolls, and they got the Melta 2 rule. So right now, even with the update, they only come out to about 100 points. Now my question is, how effective are they going to be at taking down some of these vehicles? Because I know that they have the best damage output, everybody says so, but so often it seems like I'm playing a game and they do nothing. They completely flub. They flub all the time. So with the high damage output, why is this happening? Because they're incredibly swingy. I've run a million simulations on several different vehicles to see exactly what the damage output looks like. Here's what we got. So Eradicators have their Gravis armor, which is real sweet. They're fairly durable. And we got 4 Melta shots, all at strength 9, AP 4, and damage D6. And of course, if they're in Melta range, if they make it within 9 inches, which you should be striving to do, then they get an extra +2 damage on top of that.
Die 6 plus 2.
Yeah, die 6 plus 2 damage with 4 shots. And that's the problem. Because even though their damage output is high, they got 4 shots. And with 4 shots, a lot can go wrong.
This is when the swinging gets involved.
This is when the swinging gets involved. All right, so what I have done is I have taken these Eradicators and I've given them a bunch of targets and I have simulated those attacks a million times to see exactly what the outcome would look like.
He's been working on this for a decade. A million simulations takes a long time. I want you to all appreciate.
Actually, since the 70s, the 1870s.
The 1870s!
I'm a vampire, as Blood Angels tend to be. So, here's the thing, is that most units that would attack in Warhammer 40k are going to give you a damage distribution that looks, well, fairly normal, something like this. Here we've got a nice little bell, and this is a million simulations.
It looks like a bell.
It does. It looks just like a bell. Ding.
Okay, that's what's called a normal distribution?
A normal distribution.
Okay.
So this is a 10-man assault intercessor squad with a power fist on the sergeant, just attacking some other Marines. And if they got their attacks off, their damage output would look something like this. So our median, our average damage output would be 8. You expect to get 8 damage off. But that's easy to calculate. What we don't usually think about is, what does the spread look like? What does this whole range look like? Because sometimes you attack with 10 intercessors and you only get 2 wounds and you're really upset by it. You're like, so what the heck?
It's like the mean or the expectation value, it just doesn't show like the geography of the possibilities. It gives like one simple value.
Yeah.
It doesn't show, okay, I see what you're doing here.
Yeah. So in this particular case, if we were to do this attack a million times, you would end up getting 50% of the time, you would expect to do between 6 and 10 damage. So most of the time you do between 6 and 10 damage. Sometimes you do less than that, sometimes you do more than that. But the vast majority of the time, you're going to be clustered right there in the middle.
That seems like it'd be way more, I see how that's usable information the way you do. I get it now. Okay. Yeah. Half the time, it'll do between 6 and 10 damage.
Half the time, it'll do between 6 and 10 damage.
And then like a quarter of the time, it'll do less than 6, and a quarter of the time, it'll do more than 10.
Absolutely. You got it.
Okay. Are you a math teacher?
I was a math teacher. 3 years.
I knew
math
that.
And physics and engineering.
That part, I knew.
I would expect that you did. Okay, so here's the thing though, back to Eradicators. So let's go ahead and simulate some Eradicator attacks against some various targets, like for instance, an orc truck.
You would.
Yeah.
He's only doing that because I started an orc army.
Yeah, he sorted an orc army. It's vast and gray and terrifying.
It's so gray. Except for three vehicles. Maybe we'll have B-roll of showing them off right now. Or maybe we'll just tease it.
That's happening right now.
Oh, yes, they're beautiful. All right, sorry. You're killing it.
So here's the thing. Let's say we've got some eradicators. They don't make it into Melta range, but they're attacking an orc truck. You can kind of see we still have a bell distribution, but guess what? We had 4 attacks, right? So we have peaks that occur here. None of them make it through. Here, mostly one of them get through. 2 get through, 3 get through, and occasionally you manage to get all 4 through, which creates this nice tail here.
Whoa, so you can see a certain number of peaks because there's 4 attacks, you can see 4 peaks. It correlates like that?
Yeah, more or less, it correlates like that.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, and so with the fewer number of attacks, with the greater swinginess, you tend to see this more often. With more attacks, this tends to level out a lot more, which is why you get more of a bell.
Right.
But if you have a few number of high-value attacks, you're much more likely to see the results from the individual dice like this.
Yeah.
So, in this particular case, against an orc truck, you can see that kind of our spread, if you will. Half the time, you're going to get between 7 and 14 damage with an average of 10. So if we wanted to kill this orc truck, which has 10 wounds...
Son of a gun.
Yeah, that's basically the average outcome.
Okay.
So
half the time.
Well, actually, according to my simulations, 57.2% of the time, you're going to kill that orc truck.
Oh, that's painful.
Yeah,
and this is out of Melta range?
This is outside of Melta range.
Son of several bitches.
Yeah, you should really get your eradicators into a Melta range because then things start looking a lot more promising. But because those individual attacks do more damage and they're going to do at least 3 damage every time, you're going to get a much more dramatic distribution. So if you make it inside Melta range, this is what the distribution looks like now. You can still see that there is a vague bell shape, but our 3 peaks are way more dramatic. And instead of doing an average of 10 damage, now we're going to be doing an average of 15 damage.
Okay, and half the time it'll be between 11 and 20.
Right.
Wow, so a quarter of the time you fail. If you're within Melta range of killing
20% of the time, roughly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
But how frustrating is it? I mean, it's so often that somebody will be like, okay, I expect to do 15 damage. This orc truck only has 10 wounds. I should kill it. And most of the time you're right. Most of the time you are going to kill it at 10 wounds. But you can see, like, there are all these possibilities down here where you don't manage to kill it. And that actually amounts to more than 20% of the time.
Okay, I mean, thinking about the truck shooting me, 20% sounds like it's not very often, but if you're expecting to kill it, 20% of the time it doesn't work out, I can see that.
I mean, I'll tell you what, like, I'll take my bets with this. I feel pretty good, but, like, I'm still going to fail sometimes. That's just how it's going to go. And in fact, you can see this spike down here at the bottom. There's roughly a 2% chance, or like 1 in 50, that you're just going to completely bounce, even though you're attacking something that you fully expect to destroy.
And there's a complete gap at 1 and 2 wounds because that's impossible since each time that goes through, it does a minimum of 3.
Exactly. You got it. And you'll see these really low consistent numbers at 4, 5, and 6 because those are the results of getting exactly 1 attack through. Yeah. All right, but here's the thing. We don't just want to attack orc trucks because we can kill them with basically anything. They're basically paper. So if we wanted to attack something a little tougher, the tougher they get, the more we can see that this graph is much more dramatic and much more spread out. Check
more
this out.
geography.
We got a lot more geography here.
Yeah, so, the falcon, shoot that stupid hobby shit. No, I'm sorry. I'm stupid.
Yeah, so Falcon Grav Tank. I also play Eldar.
He's starting an Eldar army.
Also a sea of mostly gray.
Yep, here it is now. Here's the B-roll probably.
All right, so for a Falcon Grav Tank, we got toughness 9, so we're wounding on 4s now. Save 3, and we have AP 4, so we're going right through the armor, and 12 wounds. So there's not very much variability in the armor save, but we can see now that we're doing an average of 15 damage, and our expected damage, half the time, we're going to do between 11 and 20 damage against this 12 wound vehicle.
So when you say average, you're talking about the median.
I'm talking about the median.
Because the expectation value is really the mean, which allows for fractional values.
Yeah, so if we were to actually just like math this out and try and figure out what our expected damage would be, we would calculate 15.36-ish or something around there. Again, this is a million simulations. I'm going to be off by tiny.
1 million simulations!
But if I essentially take all the simulations and I order them from worst to best, and then I go to the 500,000th simulation and see how much damage that was done, the result would have been 15. So our median, our average, the way I like to think about it.
Put them all in a row and then find the one that's in the middle of the line.
Exactly. That's 15 damage, which is, again, very promising. You got a 12-wound vehicle. I'm just going to kill it, right?
I should kill it.
Yeah, I should kill it. We're good. I'm just going to plan everything around this.
I feel like you're about to tell me I'm not.
Yeah, but again, we don't have a nice normal distribution here, and we can see that like we expect to do between 11 and 20 damage. 20 is like twice as much as 11. That's a huge range. That's really spread out. Yeah, so we got to get all the way to 12, which is what, right here on the graph, in order to kill this thing. So in this case, we have a 73% chance of killing it. So 27% chance of not killing it. And again, you can see there's a tiny chance, like a 2% chance, this bar right here, completely bouncing.
Would it be accurate for me to, okay, so 12 damage, 73% chance. So basically, if we look at all of the data points that went through the simulation, that means at 73% of them returned at least 12 wounds.
73% of them return at least 12 wounds.
Okay,
exactly.
I feel like I get, okay. It's a little weird. Math is hard.
Math is weird and awesome.
And awesome.
All right, but again, as we get tougher and tougher vehicles where some of these rolls are less certain, more variability, we're going to get more dramatic shapes. So like against a Gladiator tank, now we're toughness 10, so we're only wounding on 5s. Even if we're re-rolling, we're only wounding a little bit more than half the time. Save 3, still cutting right through the armor, and 12 wounds. And this time we can see that we've got this huge peak at 0. So again, like almost 9% of the time, you're not going to do any damage whatsoever. And that's going to be really frustrating. That's like 1 in 10 times almost. And here, our expectation value, our mean, is actually 12. Interesting.
No, our median is 12.
Yeah, our median is 12, which is actually higher than our expectation value.
Oh.
Check that out. Very often, having a big tail at the top will mean that your mean is higher than your median.
But in this case, higher.
Yeah. In this case, we actually have such a large chance of getting 0 that that's skewing it in the other direction.
Whoa, yeah. It's actually out of any certain possibility, it is the most likely.
Yeah, it is the most likely outcome.
Wow.
Right? How annoying is that? Even though you expect to do 12, when you have 12 wounds, you expect to be pretty close to killing this thing.
But the most probable value is 0.
The most probable value is 0. Yeah.
Whoa!
It is the most likely outcome, which is so annoying.
That's crazy. Wow. I'm learning me a thing or two.
So check this out. In this case, if you're attacking a Gladiator tank, you have almost exactly 50... Whoops.
What'd you do?
Almost exactly 50-50 odds of killing that thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. You have 50-50 odds of killing it, but the most likely thing is that you won't. That is weird that you can say both of those.
Yep.
Wow. Okay, cool. And what comes after the
Let's give it something tougher. How about a Forge Fiend?
No, you would do that.
Our old nemesis.
No!
And this is why this is frustrating.
Holy
because,
crap, look at the zeros on that.
Yeah, the Forge Fiend has toughness 10, so still wounding on 5s, re-rolling, you're going to do it a little more than half the time. 3-up save, but this time there's a 5-up invuln. So instead of cutting through your armor, there's a 1 in 3 chance that you're going to completely ignore that dice. And I only got 4 of them. So we got a 5-up invuln, 12 wounds, and again, now you can see that by far the most likely outcome is that you're not going to do any damage whatsoever. You've got a 23-ish% chance of not doing any damage against a Forge Fiend.
Wow.
And just be left out in the open.
So, like, if there were a whole crap load of attacks, there were like 25 attacks, and they all got through, and I had a 5-up invul, the chances of rolling 25 5-ups is, like, not a thing. It's just not going to happen. But because there's only 4 attacks, the chances of rolling 4 dice that are at least 5, that's not Wow, that is
And
crazy.
again, look at the spread on this thing, because the median outcome is 7. The mean is 7.5, 12 wounds. So you don't really expect to kill this thing. But our spread this time, half the time you're going to do between 3 and 12 damage.
Wow, that's a big spread.
Yeah, like 12 is 4 times as much as 3. That's a huge range. You have no idea.
12 is 4 times as much as 3?
12 is 4 times as much as 3. I hope you learned something, at least that.
That's the
But
one
again,
all
you can see these peaks, right? Because you got a big peak at 0, peak here, and then you've got a long tail. You can see there's a little bit of a peak around 20.
Oh, that's
which
cool.
is hilarious. Yeah. But in this case, your chances of killing a Forge Fiend are only 26.9%, 27%.
That invul made a big difference.
The invul makes a huge difference. And in fact, I think that's really funny because when I think of durability, I usually think of the Land Raider. The Land Raider is like the toughest thing out there.
Wait. Before you go on, I'm excited to see the Land Raider. But was the Gladiator exactly the same profile without the invulnerable save?
Effectively.
Can we go back and forth and look at the difference here?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, look at how big that invulnerable save changed that much.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And again,
okay.
like expectation value goes from, what is that?
12?
11.3 to 7.5.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Wow.
that makes a huge difference.
That's insane. Okay. Now you're going to do a Land Raider.
Yeah, so I think of the Land Raider as being the most durable unit, but check this thing out. It's got no invulnerable save. So even though it's tougher, the toughness doesn't make a difference because without that invulnerable save, it's only going to be saving on a 6 instead of saving on a 5, like the Forge Fiend is.
Oh.
So in this case, our average damage is 8, or actually, well, this is interesting. The mean damage is 9.4, which is significantly higher.
This is a huge
The
tail.
median damage is now only 8 because you've got basically a 15% chance of not doing anything. Yeah.
Wow.
So in this case, 50% of the time you're going to do between 6 and 14 damage. It's got 16 wounds. And especially if you just calculate that on average you should do 9.5 damage, you don't really expect to kill a toughness 16 Land Raider. But again,
Toughness 12, 16 wounds.
I'm sorry, 16 wound Land Raider. But again, these units are really, really swingy. Sometimes you're going to swing high. So you can see this really, really long tail here. You actually have a 16% chance of completely killing the Land Raider. In fact, your odds of killing the Land Raider are about the same as your odds of completely bouncing off the Land Raider.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wow. Even with the better save and the 2 higher toughness and the way more wounds, the Land Raider falls to the Eradicators more easily.
Well, I mean, per wound, because you still have a higher chance of killing a Forge Fiend.
Just because it's got 12 wounds.
Yeah,
instead
12
of
wounds
16.
instead of 16.
Okay. But still. Wow.
Yeah.
4 potent dice creates an unusual, crazy geography for that probability graph.
It sure does. Man, and I'll bet you the Land Raider is like the toughest thing in all of 40K, too.
No, oh, I know it. That's a good segue to your stupid.
So I also play Eldar. All of my guys are super squishy. I have 1 beat stick.
Meat stick?
1 beat stick that I will beat you with. Your meat into pulp as I cook it.
No.
With the Avatar of Khaine, who's made of molten metal, hence cooking your meat. All right. That was too
Okay,
much.
no, moving on.
All right. So I love having the Avatar of Khaine. I love that Dane can't hurt it with practically anything. And check out this profile. So the Avatar of Khaine, as we all know, toughness 12, 2-up save, 14 wounds, but he's got a 4-up invulnerable save, and his special rule, Molten Form, allows him to half damage. Rounded up, but still half damage. So with all of these things in mind, we could calculate that the expected damage is about 3 wounds.
3 wounds to do. Oh my God!
And
what are the
again-
chances of killing it? I know I'm jumping ahead. What are the chances of killing it?
So killing it on this graph is way up here. Do you see that little hump right
It
there?
literally is impossible. Okay, so
No, it's not impossible. There's something there. It's just really small.
Oh, it's so small.
Yeah, so you've
Because-
got about a 0.12% chance of killing the Avatar of Khaine with 3 Eradicators.
Wow. Okay, so
They can
not
totally be
happening.
done.
Yes.
Absolutely.
0.12%. So that means 1 in 100, 1 in 1,000 times. About 12 in 10,000 times you will kill. Oh my God.
That's what you get. That's it. Sorry.
That's stupid. I hate the Avatar.
All right. So, like in this case, we can see that there's actually, we got a huge spike at 0, like 36% chance of not doing any damage whatsoever.
Hurts
And
my
half the
heart.
time, well, actually, I guess in this case, 75% of the time, you're going to do between 0 and 4 damage.
Wow,
That's what you
because
get.
that entire lower quartile, the bottom 25% of the data is all zeros.
Yes. Yep.
In
Well,
addition to some of the next quart.
You got it.
That's so painful.
So here's the thing. Eradicators are amazing because they're swingy, and for 100 points, you can drop them anywhere or drive them up and potentially blow something right off the board. But in most cases, the most probable outcome is that you will completely bounce.
Wow.
Very point efficient, but that's what you get with Eradicators.
Mikey McDrop. Wow. Okay, I can't decide if that means I'm more afraid of them or not.
Yeah. Well, Warp Fiends, it's been fun. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey. Again, my name is Blake. We got Dano over here.
Hey!
Like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Also, if you can think of any other matchups or something that you want to see the math teacher.
Yeah, do you want to see us do more matchups? Do you want to see some special rules in play? Do you want to
The
see if your units can kill
Vindicator?
your buddies' units? Let us know. Drop it in the comments.
What?
We'll run some simulations. Millions of them.
Millions, and we'll get started now.
Millions of them.
Break out the TI-83.
All right, peace, guys. Also, if you love Warhammer as much as we do, then you should watch us build these awesome chainswords on our other channel. Link in the bio.
Thank you for watching another episode of Warp Hammer Math.
For the Emperor!